I'm ready when you.
Hey, right. Morning. How are we?
Morning. I'm
How
all
are we?
right,
We're
apart
back
from
again.
iPad falling off.
Apart from your iPad falling off, and I thought you fell off your chair for a second.
No, no, anything's going to happen this morning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. How are we? All good?
Yeah, really good. Very, just
Yeah.
very cold. I just
Yeah, it
can't
is.
warm at the moment. I'm like
No.
thermals and
Yeah.
5 layers on top, and
Yeah. We went to Iconics last week, their 0 degrees show, and it was absolutely freezing.
it was 0 degrees.
It was 0 degrees. We left the house in the morning, and it was like -6 getting in the van.
Wow,
It was
that is cold.
horrendous. But
And did you have a good show?
yeah, it was good. Really good courses. Challenging. Everything was challenging. There was some tough courses there. Some I liked, some I didn't. Some I got on with, some I didn't. They were just tough. But yeah, it was a really good event. I enjoyed it, apart from being cold.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Didn't
not
have any.
cold, is it?
Yeah, I didn't have any sort of major results to sing of, but we had some good. Um, what do we have? Yeah, I had some good things that went my way on the course. Is something I enjoyed doing, and I trained a little bit. I managed to make a list of things that I need to work on, etc. So it was good in that respect. But yeah, it was a bit cold. So, but
Yeah, that's my grumble for the week. I'm
yeah,
cold. I want it
cold.
spring. Come on.
Yeah, spring. Come on, we're nearly there. We're nearly there.
We do. I don't want to go and buy any more clothes.
Yeah, cool. Just want to get to spring so we can start taking hoodies off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously today we're going to talk a little. Well, I want to sort of bring up a bit of a subject about costs and prices of bits and pieces. Not necessarily with shows, because we've already covered a little bit with cost of entries for shows and stuff. But talking about workshops, guest trainers, your regular group training, whatever that is, and some of the opinion of are trainers or are workshops too expensive for what they are? Is there a value for money in what we're doing?
Do we start off with kind of group training, our regular group training? Because I'm actually resisting at the moment putting my prices up.
Okay.
So not from an agility point of view, but from a pet dog obedience point of view, all my venues have gone up. So the whole price has gone up because obviously they've got the cost of heating, they've got the cost of everything else. All my venues have gone up. Now I charge £14.50 a session.
Okay.
For agility and pet dog training.
Okay.
And I'm probably, I don't want to sing my praises, but I'm certainly one of the most reputable in the area. We've been there a long time in the area franchises that we're in. But I'm now one of the cheapest.
Okay.
And I struggle, Stuart, if I'm honest. £14.50 to me for a pet dog training class, I think is a good rate.
Absolutely.
But and I'm not losing money, but I'm not making as much money as I was. But all my costs have gone up as well. So I am struggling with whether I should put that up or not.
So yeah, I mean, I think there should be some. I think you should be looking at maybe putting something up. Mainly only because, like we said, with the cost of living and bits and pieces, your venue costs and all that sort of stuff are going up. And let's face it, we're in this to make money. Really, it's our it's our job, it's our career, it's our so we're in to make money. So yes, we want to make sure everything is accessible to as many people as we possibly can. And
at the end of the day, people are paying for it's like you pay for what you get, don't you? So if you're paying for a cheap service, or even that's not dog training, if you pay for something cheap in a shop, a product, generally you get rubbish, don't you?
And that's what people think. So whether you are the most, let's say you're the most experienced, and like you say, the most reputable one there, so you are, but then your price is cheaper than most people, you'll get overlooked, I think, because people don't see. They'll see it as being cheap. They go, "I won't go there. It's cheap."
Right.
If that makes sense. If you look at it, that's the way I look at it anyway. So yes, we want to keep a decent price, but also you look at something. Why is that so cheap? you know, and
Yeah.
then you question a little bit of why is it cheap? Are you
Yeah.
trying to get people in because you're not busy, or are you trying to keep your costs down because, you know, it's a, I think that sometimes it just asks a bit more question. People ask more questions if you are cheap, if that makes, if you are
There's
cheap.
that the one of the dog pages, isn't there, where the it explains like you're not just paying for a dog trainer, you're paying for years of experience, years of hard work,
Yeah.
years of
How
that,
much money we've spent individually on the stuff that we've,
how many items of clothing we need
yeah,
to wear.
yeah. We've also spent all that money ourselves on training and, you know, education and experience. We've traveled around, we've done all our sort of stuff. So yeah, all right, you're looking at, let's say, we'll use £10 as a round figure, you're paying 10, but you're not paying £10 for that person right there, that at that point you're paying for all of their experience that they've given you, they've gained. So I think, yeah, I think from a price point of view, you do have to price yourself relevant to your experience.
I haven't had a price increase from a pet dog, well, from any of my lessons point of view for probably 2 years.
Yeah, I put mine up slightly, only a small increase recently, goes up on the 1st of February. But I haven't had a.
What do you charge for a group, Stuart, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so my agility classes is £40 for 4 weeks, so it's £10 a week.
So you're cheaper than me.
Yeah, but we're in a different area though, remember. So you're
Right.
going to be, I think you're in a more, what's the word? How do I word it? You're in a more, no, not,
Affluent.
yeah, you're in a more affluent area, aren't you? Because you're down towards Essex way, so you've got sort of the
It's
London
really
catchment as it was.
Yeah, I've been chatting to a potential new franchise owner, and there are parts of Essex. Obviously, people look at funding when they're starting new business,
Yeah.
and the levelling up has just been announced, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And generally, Essex don't get any funding whatsoever because we're.
Because you fell off your chair again.
I didn't fall off my chair. It's my wire because I've been rubbish. I'm going to unplug you. Yeah, Essex is considered as I guess more up and coming because we can't get any grant funding anywhere for new business startups, whereas North Essex has just they've just won a load of funding for the levelling up. So
yeah.
I
suppose
guess
your price is relevant to the area, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I've never. Yeah, so and you know, you saying £10 and me saying £14.50. That's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But again, you've got to look at if people are willing to pay that, then that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I would say the rent of your venues in your area compared to mine is a lot more.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at the church halls. They've gone up quite considerably.
Yeah.
It's not just a little bit.
And that's the thing. I think we take Morrison, for example. Morrison's petrol station I've got here last week was 162 for diesel, and we went 15 miles down the road to another town and it was 173.
Yeah, well, we pay about 160 at them. Well, it depends what week it is, to be honest with you. It depends what kind of
so it's the same as everything. I think wherever you go, it depends on the area, I think, or the catchment of where you are, which obviously prices will be up or down regardless.
Yeah. So, and what about workshops? I mean, we're seeing, you know, quite an increase in different workshops, but in some people aren't putting their prices up.
So
I guess they're split like me and you on this.
Same. Yeah, there's going to be I think there's a difference with workshops as well, because I think if you decide to do a workshop here, say like up in Birmingham or somewhere like that, the cost of the venue or whatever you're going to get is going to be cheaper generally than what you've got now. So should you be charging the same?
Yes, I think so. If you're traveling, because you've got
traveling, I suppose, because you're traveling as well. Yeah. So
yeah,
you're going to have that.
I've got a workshop in a couple of weeks' time where I'm traveling into Suffolk, so it's a good kind of hour and a half journey for me. So I've actually done it a little bit separate with them because they're paying for the venue, but I've got my price of fuel.
Yeah.
So I've actually kept because I've not got the price of the venue, but I have got the price of fuel. I've kept my prices at the same price.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so workshops are a little bit of a different one for me. I think you're paying for, when you pay for a workshop, you're paying for an experience, I think, as well as a training session.
Yeah, and if you look at it, a lot of these workshops, they end up as a social event, don't they? So at the end of the day, although we're making a living, it's a hobby for most people, isn't it?
Yes.
So, you know, if they were to go for a meal out or a night at the pictures or anything like that, I guess you're looking, you know, probably at around 30, 40, maybe even £50.
Yeah. For a couple of hours or so.
For a couple of hours entertainment, really.
Yeah. And I suppose with it as well, with the workshops, it's the same as whatever else we do. You're going to get out of the workshop what you put into the workshop as well. So when I go to a workshop, I know a few people say, oh, you know, it's £40 for 2 hours and you're only going to get 10 or 15 minutes, you know, of actual physical training in that time. But if you're a little bit like I am sometimes, I sit and I like to watch. And I like to listen to the instructor telling them other things. I like to listen to their questions when they're asking instructors what they're asking them. So I tend to take a little bit
so
more.
Much by watching other people, don't you?
Yeah.
Very often, on my pet dog point of view, if a dog's in season or a dog's not very well and they don't come along with the dog, I say come along without the dog, because actually you can concentrate more when you're not focusing on your own dog.
So if you're looking at it from a actual physical activity point, yes, you're not going to get massive amounts of, let's say, value for money on your £40. You're going to get 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but you actually get 2 hours, I think, of a training experience.
Yeah, definitely working in the environment and picking up different tips and
and your dog's in a different environment. Your dog's with a different, you know, your dogs are with different dogs.
Yeah, you're paying for show experience, really, aren't you?
And you're with different people that maybe you've never met before, and so there's actually, I think there's more value in it than what some people may see at some points.
Right.
So there is a few.
Are people grumbling about the costs?
There's a few different comments and a few different things I've seen about where people are saying, well, you know, have you seen so and so up there? It's £47 for 2 hours or whatever.
Right.
And that, you know, the price of agility is going, you know, is through the roof. But without going into the cost of living stuff, it is what it is. Unfortunately.
Well, yeah, we are in a cost of living crisis, and that
and people are trying to make as much money as they can. They're trying to make ends meet at some points, and I don't think £40 to £50 to charge £40 or £50. If you break it down for your hourly rate and all your fuel and all the bits and pieces that go with it, I don't think that they're making, or we're making, as much money as what people think we are.
No.
And it's the same as everybody else. And you know,
some of the venues that some of these workshops are in are stunning, absolutely stunning. I mean,
they're not cheap, you know.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I was going to say. I've not actually had a look at how much, you know, it would cost to rent an AstroTurf venue, or you know, even a night. I know how much mine is, and mine's a really nice venue, but it's not heated, and you know, extremely cold.
Some of these venues alone, just if I was going to go and train at a venue, I just decided to book it for an hour or two with just myself or my dogs or whatever, they're still £30 to £40 for that hour. And that's me on my own without a trainer, whatever. So if you imagine that with, let's say, 18 people, because you've got 3 groups a day, you're normally with 6 people in a group, plus the trainer, £30, £40 an hour, it's not cheap.
It's interesting you say that, actually, because a few years ago I was going to hire my venue out for people to use without a trainer, and I had to consider, obviously, you know, the fact that we've got £5,000-6,000 worth of equipment out there, my insurance, the liability insurance, the fact that because they were doing a hobby, they wouldn't have their own, they'd have public liability, but it wouldn't cover them. And I pitched, I can't remember how much I pitched what I was going to rent my venue for, but I think it was about £20 an hour. And extra dogs were like £6 or £7, something like that. And I didn't get any bookings. Okay. No. And the rumblings coming back were the fact that it was too expensive. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that's a venue with full equipment. That is my
Indoors?
risk. Yeah, no, this wasn't actually.
Oh,
This
okay.
was outdoors, but it was an all-weather, all
Even so,
flooded.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I kind of put in there that if the weather was bad, they didn't have to pay, etc. And yeah, a few people rented it, but it isn't something I would do again because the risk that you get from renting venues and that sort of thing. And let's face it, a lot of these venues, agility venue point of view, people are renting with their own equipment, and it takes a second to break something, and yet that gives somebody so much aggravation as well, doesn't
Exactly.
it?
Yeah, exactly. So it was just the point, like I said, with the cost of it. I think we just need to have a look at, in general, at agility, when people are saying, this is quite expensive now, this is expensive now. If you take a step back and have a look at what's going on behind the scenes, it's generally not that expensive.
No,
I
especially
don't
if you
think.
break it down how we've just broken it down in fact.
And I only choose to do workshops. Like, if I'm going to see a guest trainer, I pick and choose. I don't go to one every week or every month or whatever. I save a bit of money or whatever and say, right, I've got X amount of pounds. So and so is coming up to this venue. I'm booking on that one. I'm going to spend my money with that person.
Yeah, I have noticed actually where people were booking I was running weekly workshops and privates, and people were booking both. People have actually said to me, right, they're cutting back there. If they have a private 1 month, then they're not going to have a workshop. So I've actually reduced, which again has further reduced my incomings.
Yes.
This time of year, some of us don't earn money out on our outside areas, do we?
No.
And we're still having to pay for the outside areas.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate, I suppose. I'm going to say fortunate. I've got 2 venues, an indoor and an outdoor, and I'd still have to pay for through the winter. I have to pay rent on the outdoor, even though I'm not using it.
Yeah, exactly the same as me.
It does sort of, you look at the cost of things in that way.
And you say you're fortunate. You probably put yourself out again to go and drive and find those venues.
I found the venues, and I pay the rent, and I make sure that I've got as much or as many things as I possibly can to make sure that everybody's got what they need on the venues as well. So it's not just the field, it's a couple of you've got to try and find enough equipment, you've got to try and find even down to toilet hire. My outside field, I hire a toilet once, and I pay that monthly.
Yeah.
So it's not these things that some people might not not going to say take for granted, because that sounds really horrible, but they turn up and we don't always look at these things and go, actually, this is not bad here. We've got a toilet.
And I'm sure for all those that are grumbling, there's enough of those that aren't grumbling as well, and that are really happy to pay and really happy to pay for the service that they're getting.
100%. 100%. But it was just a few things I sort of saw and read on this week, and about the cost of certain things.
Was that social media?
Yeah, as usual. And it was just a case.
And it must be true because it's on social
media. Yeah. But it was just a case. It did think to me. I was like, actually, what are we? Are we charging enough or too much, or is it the right amount of money, or do people get value for money when they
people have a choice, don't they? We all have a choice what we spend our money on. We were talking about this the other day with my daughter. She's at uni and she's like, oh, everybody's on about the cost of living crisis, but we were saying the restaurants are still full. They went bowling, they still had everything's still full. So yes, obviously people are sorry. People just gonna surreptitiously move my dog from chewing a wire. And we do have a choice. I don't want this to become like sitting there like Victor Meldrews, but everybody has a choice, don't they?
And if you don't want to, and mainly, if people didn't want to pay that much money for a workshop and everybody stopped going, then maybe the prices would go down eventually, and maybe you might have less choice.
I would run less. There's no way that I could put the price of my workshops down at the moment. In fact, I could
do less.
You just do less and end up doing more of something else, and then people will grumble because you're not doing as many. I guess it's what we've always said: you can't keep people happy all the time.
No.
But if suddenly we stopped doing it because we weren't earning money from it, and we had to go and do something else, then suddenly more workshops would disappear and people wouldn't have the choice that people have got. And And you know, most of these workshops are run by people that are passionate about agility. They're out doing, they're competing every weekend. You know, they're out at the high profile shows. So you're paying for all that experience. I mean, you coming home saying that you've got a training plan, you know, after Iconics, you'll put that into training plan, and no doubt you'll learn from that yourself. And when you learn from that, you pass that on, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is generally what some of the things I do when I set up for my weekly lessons, my groups, one-to-ones, whatever. A lot of the time, it's stuff that I'm working on myself, and I like to put other people through that as well, because I generally think if I'm working on it, then a lot of other people must be working on it.
Yeah,
you know? And not only that, I get to see other people doing the thing that I want to do as well. So we just get that sort, you know, so I can see how it works for other people as well.
Yeah. We're having a bit of a Wi-Fi glitch.
Yeah, we are. I think this happened a little bit earlier as well, but we'll be back in a minute.
Yeah,
it'll catch up.
Yeah, it's the price of Wi-Fi. Did you pay your bill?
I know, yeah, and I can't afford it. I need to put my prices up.
I need to buy a few more jumpers.
Yeah. Right, I think we've wrapped that up. I think that was good.
Yeah, excellent.
It was just something, you know, I think to think about, and it might be good for everybody to get some comments in for us what they think about, you know, value. Do they think they're getting value for money? You know, do they think we're, you know, us as dog trainers, agility trainers, do they think that we're pricing right, or do they think we're too expensive?
Yeah, what is their opinions? Because it's all very, we always say this to people, don't we? Can we have your opinions as well? Because otherwise we're just muttering on about me and you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're moaning about what we want to moan about.
And people it'd be good to my iPad going bosh, and the Wi-Fi
and people falling off their chairs.
It was my iPad. I didn't fall off.
I think we'll leave that there. That was I think
we should. I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon.
Care.